All right, we're back, part two. The video. I should have done this while I was on break. I get chapped lips in the winter. All right, first thing I want to talk about. I saw a video in here. I want to talk about net neutrality. What net neutrality is? There are no regulations on the internet. You don't have to pay taxes to use the internet. Yeah, you pay taxes to your service provider. Let's say they sell you the ability to get on the internet is $40 a month plus tax. But you don't have to pay it. Therefore, one time I remember they were talking about taxing your email. Every time you send an email, you have to pay a tax. And I think what it is because the post office, the inept post office, the United States Postal Service that can't get a letter from point A to point B in a reasonable amount of time is starting to lose a little bit of money because people are sending emails instead of regular paper mail. So you go to send a package. Well, we had this discussion before, and I'll tell you the result of it here in a moment. You send a package through UPS, let's say. In most cases, it's going to get there in 3 days. You send a package through the United States Postal Service, you're lucky if it ever gets there. Maybe 7 days at the most. They're getting more and more inept. You know, what they need to do is step up their service and become a better service than anything else. But I digress, as Gilbert Gnarly would say. Net neutrality is the ability to get on the internet and communicate with people all across the country in a free, uncommercial way. That's why the government and the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, wants to control the internet. Now, what they control, because I took broadcasting, so I know this stuff. They control the airwaves. Anything that's broadcast over air. And you folks, you young whippersnappers, I didn't know what that meant. You know, you're on the air. What that meant was a transmitter transmits electronic signal through the air and comes down and lands into everyone's antennas, who then comes into those signals come into your house via the antenna, into your TV. Voila, there's Ed Sullivan on your TV introducing the Beatles. That's over the air. That's what the FCC had control of, is what you broadcast over the air, which meant the FCC had no control over what was broadcast over cable TV. That's why when something was shipped via satellite disk to one satellite and then beamed back down to another satellite, the FCC had no control over that because you had to have specialized equipment to receive and send those signals. Therefore, that's why on HBO and Showtime and those channels, you had nudity, you had cussing and things like that. That's why on the internet you have there's tons of porn on here, folks. Quagmire was right. There's tons and tons of internet porn. And people cussing like me right now. I can say shit if I want to, and the FCC can't do a damn thing about it. Those fuckers. So, but more and more our freedom of speech is being threatened. Our freedom of speech is being threatened. Our First Amendment right, the right to free speech, is being threatened by the very people who are supposed to protect our free speech, the government. I can go over here and tell my neighbor who might be outside talking to shut up, and we get in a fight and beat the shit out of each other. But the government is supposed to protect his rights from me trying to take them away. But what the government is doing is trying to take away your right to free speech, your ability to get it out to other people, your ability to hear other people's free speech. You know, I've said it many times before. I don't watch the news because that is controlled, that is propaganda put out, approved by whoever. I'm just going to say the federal government. Approved by the federal government what they want you to know, which may or may not always be the truth. I've found more truth, and because, you know, you don't just sit there and take somebody's word for it. Even when Walter Cronkite said, I landed on the moon, you know, do your research, find out if they really did land on the moon. Okay, so when I hear something on the internet, you know, I think that's very interesting. So I want to check it out. I want to find out. You got tons and billions and gobs of websites you can go to and experts that you can go to who know this stuff. So it's there. There's where you get your news. There's where you get the truth. The unfiltered, the uncensored truth. Like I was watching the movie Good Morning Vietnam. The news came into the newsroom, and those twin brothers had to approve what could be said over the air. That goes on today, folks. The television stations just can't blurt it out. And if they do, I'm sure they get called. Matter of fact, there's been stories where news people have been brought down and kicked off the air for telling the truth. Okay, but I don't work for the government. I don't work for a television station who has to resort to selling commercials to keep my show on the air or to keep me on the air. I just get on here, find out some interesting stuff, and I tell you about it. I watch other people's videos. I want to find out what they know, and because I don't want to just take. I don't trust Bill O'Reilly. I don't trust Sean Hannity. I don't trust Rush Limbaugh, and I don't even trust Alan Combs anymore. I don't trust Keith Olbermann. I don't trust these guys to tell me the truth. And I'll explain why in a moment when I get to the Carl Rove section of this. But the bottom line is we've got to do what we can to keep the internet open and free and government regulated away from it. Because this is so far this is the raw truth. If we let the federal government take away and govern and regulate the internet, the next thing is they'll be coming to your house telling you what you can and can't say to your neighbor across the back fence. We'll take a short break. I want to come back and I want to talk about the swine flu vaccinations, and then we're going to talk about Carl Rove running around blaming the Democrats for everything that the Bush administration has done. Be back in a moment.